The deep ocean is a world of extremes. We have explored through the ecosystems of this harsh realm and seen how living things cling to any energy source they can find. Now, we go dive even deeper to discover a zone where life is pushed close to its absolute limits. Fish that seem to have no faces, wide carpets of bacteria, and huge creatures that look like aliens are found here. You are watching Science Revealed, and together we will explore the hidden world of the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench lies on the Pacific seafloor, curving like a long crescent. This deep valley is about 2,550 kilometers long, but only around 69 kilometers wide, dropping into darkness. At its deepest point is the Challenger Deep, the lowest place known on Earth, almost about 36,200 feet below the ocean's surface. The first humans to discover this abyss were aboard the HMS Challenger in 1875. They were conducting routine depth measurements across the Pacific when their weighted rope just kept falling and falling and falling. They needed more rope, then even more rope. When the weight finally hit bottom, they had measured a depth that shocked the scientific world, over 5 miles down. They had discovered the Mariana Trench, though they had no idea just how deep it truly went. It would take another 75 years before anyone would attempt to reach the bottom. In 1960, Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh climbed into a tiny steel sphere called the Trieste. Their descent took nearly 5 hours. At 30,000 feet down, they heard a loud crack. One of their viewing windows had fractured. They had a choice: turn back to safety, or continue down into the unknown with a compromised window. They kept going. When they finally touched down at 35,797 feet, they had reached the deepest point any human had ever been. And in those first 20 minutes on the ocean floor, they saw something that would change our understanding of life forever. Through their tiny viewing port, in the beam of their lights, they witnessed a flatfish and shrimp moving across the seafloor. Piccard later described this instant with joy, because he felt it answered a question biologists had asked for many years. Could living things survive in the very deepest parts of the ocean? What he saw convinced him that they could. The next journey into these depths became famous, led by Titanic director James Cameron. In 2012, when Cameron followed the path of the Trieste in the vessel Deepsea Challenger, he saw broad fields of microbes, odd clumps of fine threads of tiny life using chemicals from changed rock, 35,803 feet below the surface, in a dark world without sunlight. Now, come with me as we descend into the Challenger Deep and explore the strange life forms that live there. Some of these are the stuff of pure horror. First, we pass through the sunlight zone, from the surface down to about 650 feet, which is the upper layer of the sea where light is strong. This is the region where most familiar sea creatures live. From around 650 feet to a little more than 3,000 feet below the surface is the Twilight Zone. Instead of storybook monsters, this is where you might meet animals such as giant squid and sperm whales that are adapted to the dim glow.
Deeper still is the Midnight Zone, stretching from about 3,280 FT down to 13,000 FT. And as its name suggests, this region is completely dark. Below that lies the abyss, a place of icy water, total darkness, and unusual animals such as the Dumbo octopus. Finally, we reach the Hadal Zone, which is where the Challenger Deep is found. This layer exists only in deep ocean trenches beginning at almost 20,000 EURI's feet and dropping to the very lowest parts of the Challenger Deep, more than 36,000 FT under the surface. It is so incredibly deep that if Mount Everest were set on the floor of the Challenger Deep, its summit would still sit over a mile below the sea surface. Another way to picture it is to compare it with the Grand Canyon, which has a dizzying depth of more than 6,000 FT, but is still over 5 times shallower than the Challenger Deep. In theory, if you tried to swim straight down from the surface to the Challenger Deep, the trip would take about 4 hours, though the chances of actually reaching the bottom would be extremely small. This is because the pressure in the Challenger Deep is truly crushing. The farther down you go, the more the weight of the water above you increases the pressure. By the time you reach a depth, like the Challenger Deep, there are over 36,000 FT of water pressing down. That means the pressure there is more than 1,000 times higher than at sea level, reaching about 16,000 psi, or pounds per square inch. To put that into simple terms, it is similar to having about 100 elephants pressing down on an area the size of a single square inch. Even with the intense pressure and complete darkness in the Hadal Zone, life still survives here. In fact, some organisms flourish in ways that seem hard to believe. One example is the Mariana Snailfish. These small fish hold the record as the deepest known fish, living around 27,000 FT, down, roughly halfway through the Hadal Zone. Discovered in 2014, this ghostly pale creature holds the record as the deepest living fish ever recorded, found at depths of 26,000 feet. It looks almost translucent, like a living X-ray. Its body is soft and gelatinous with almost no bones. It has no scales. Its skin is thin and delicate. And its face, if you can call it that, looks unfinished. Like nature forgot to complete it. The snailfish feeds on tiny crustaceans, using its large mouth to create suction and vacuum up prey in the darkness. But the snailfish is almost cute compared to what else lurks down there. The giant amphipod is a crustacean that grows up to 12 inches long. For comparison, most amphipods you'd find in shallow water are smaller than a grain of rice. These things are massive. They're scavengers, feeding on whatever dead material falls from above. When a whale carcass sinks to the ocean floor, thousands of these creatures swarm it, stripping the flesh in a feeding frenzy. Their bodies are armored with a special aluminum coating they extract from the seafloor mud. This protects their exoskeletons from dissolving in the acidic high-pressure water. Then, there's something even stranger: the Xenopyophore. These are single-celled organisms, but they grow to the size of a softball. That's over 4 inches in diameter. For a single cell, that's absolutely massive and shouldn't be possible. Yet here they are, thriving on the seafloor, looking like lumps of alien tissue stuck to rocks. Scientists still don't fully understand how they survive or what purpose they serve in the ecosystem. In 2017, researchers exploring deep waters off Australia discovered something that instantly went viral: the faceless fish. This creature looks exactly like its name suggests. It appears to have no eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just smooth skin where a face should be. Of course, it does have a mouth. It's just underneath its body. But seeing this thing for the first time is genuinely unsettling. It's like looking at a creature that evolution forgot. The Barreleye fish is another deep sea horror. This fish has a transparent head. You can literally see its brain and eyes through its skull. Its eyes are tubular and point straight up, allowing it to see the silhouettes of prey above it in the faint light that filters down from the surface. When it wants to eat, it rotates its eyes forward. Imagine a fish that can see through its own head and move its eyes around inside its skull. That's the Barreleye. But perhaps the most terrifying discovery in the Mariana Trench isn't a creature at all. It's what we found on the seafloor in 2019. Victor Vescovo, an explorer who has made multiple dives to the Challenger Deep, discovered something that made headlines around the world. Plastic. A plastic bag and candy wrappers sitting on the ocean floor at 35,000 feet. The deepest, most remote place on Earth, and we've already polluted it. This discovery was a gut punch to scientists and environmentalists. If our trash has reached the Challenger Deep, then nowhere on Earth is safe from human impact. Some researchers think the Challenger Deep may hide unknown species, or even animals once believed extinct that have survived for millions of years without human contact. In 2018, the film The Meg played with the idea of a huge Megalodon shark still roaming through the dark waters of the Mariana Trench. Of course, The Meg is not serious science, but the basic idea it presents is still very interesting. Because this region is so vast and unexplored, it is possible that some creatures, even ones we thought were extinct, have found a safe refuge in the farthest parts of the ocean. Take the coelacanth as an example, a fish about 6 feet long that scientists once thought had disappeared 66 million years ago. Yet it still lives today in deep waters near the coast of South Africa. Even so, megalodons, which experts think vanished about 6 million years ago, would have grown to almost 80 feet in length. There have already been scientific studies on this creature with unbelievable size. Do you believe this kind of fish still exists? Check out the Megalodon exploration video using the link in the description below or the card showing on your screen right now. In 1997, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration was monitoring underwater sounds in the Pacific Ocean. They picked up something strange. An extremely loud ultra-low frequency sound that was detected by sensors over 3,000 miles apart. They called it the Bloop. The official explanation from NOAA is that the Bloop was most likely caused by an icequake. The sound of a massive ice shelf cracking and breaking apart. The audio that circulates online is actually sped up 16 times, which gives it that eerie biological quality. At normal speed, it sounds much more like cracking ice. But here's the thing. We still don't know for certain. The ocean is so vast and so unexplored that we can't rule out the possibility of large unknown creatures. Over 80% of the ocean remains unexplored. We have better maps of Mars than we do of our own ocean floor. The Mariana Trench is also home to hydrothermal vents. These are cracks in the seafloor where superheated water, sometimes reaching 750 degrees Fahrenheit, pours out into the near-freezing ocean. The temperature difference creates massive plumes of minerals that support entire ecosystems. Giant tube worms, up to 8 feet long, cluster around these vents. They have no mouth, no digestive system. Instead, they have a special organ filled with bacteria that convert the chemicals in the vent water into nutrients. The worms and bacteria live in symbiosis, each depending on the other for survival. Near these vents, scientists have discovered shrimp that are completely blind but have heat-sensing organs on their backs. They can detect the infrared radiation from the superheated water and use it to navigate. They cluster around the vents in massive swarms, feeding on the bacteria that thrive in the chemical-rich water. Some of these shrimp have been found with bacteria living inside their gill chambers, providing them with nutrients directly. Some of the most bizarre discoveries in the Mariana Trench aren't creatures at all. They're geological features that shouldn't exist. In 1996, researchers discovered mud volcanoes on the seafloor near the trench. These aren't like regular volcanoes. They erupt with cold mud and methane instead of lava. One of these mud volcanoes is 30 miles wide, making it one of the largest geological structures on Earth. There's also a liquid carbon dioxide lake. At the extreme pressure of the deep ocean, carbon dioxide becomes a liquid instead of a gas. This creates pools of liquid CO2 on the seafloor, something that doesn't exist anywhere else on Earth. Scientists are studying these pools to understand how life might exist on other planets with similar conditions. Perhaps the strangest discovery is the presence of sounds that we can't explain. In addition to the bloop, there have been other mysterious underwater sounds recorded near deep ocean trenches. The upsweep is a sound that has been detected continuously since 1991. It's a long train of narrow band upsweeping sounds that occur several times per minute. Its source is unknown, though it's believed to be geological rather than biological. The Julia sound, recorded in 1999, was loud enough to be heard across the entire Pacific Ocean. It lasted for about 15 seconds and sounded like something massive moving through the water. The official explanation is that it was an iceberg running aground, but the sound characteristics don't perfectly match that explanation. Some researchers believe it could have been a large marine animal, though no known animal could produce a sound that loud. NASA. The space agency has been involved in deep ocean exploration. Why would a space agency care about the ocean? The deep ocean is the closest analog we have to alien environments. The conditions in the Hadal Zone, extreme pressure, no sunlight, freezing temperatures, and reliance on chemical energy are similar to conditions we believe exist on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Europa has a global ocean beneath its icy surface. If life exists, there it would likely resemble the chemosynthetic bacteria and extremophiles we find in Earth's deep ocean trenches. By studying how life survives in the Mariana Trench, NASA can develop better strategies for searching for life on other worlds. The technology used to explore the deep ocean pressure-resistant materials, autonomous vehicles, remote sensing equipment is directly applicable to space exploration. A submersible that can withstand the pressure of the Challenger Deep uses similar engineering principles to a spacecraft that must withstand the vacuum of space. NASA has also used the ocean to train astronauts. The NEMO program. NASA Extreme Environment Mission Operations sends astronauts to live in an underwater habitat off the coast of Florida. The experience of living in a confined space, dealing with limited resources, and working in a hostile environment prepares them for long-duration space missions. In 2020, China deployed an underwater robot to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. It collected samples and recorded video for hours, something that would have been impossible just a decade ago. Other countries are developing similar technology. Japan, the United States, and several European nations have active deep-sea exploration programs. The seafloor of the Mariana Trench and other deep ocean areas contains valuable mineral deposits, polymetallic nodules, potato-sized rocks rich in cobalt, nickel, copper, and manganese litter the ocean floor. These metals are essential for batteries, electronics, and renewable energy technology. Mining companies are already planning to harvest these nodules. They would use robotic vehicles to vacuum up the nodules and pump them to the surface. But this would devastate the seafloor ecosystem. The International Seabed Authority is supposed to regulate deep sea mining, but the rules are still being developed. Some scientists are calling for a moratorium on all deep sea mining until we better understand the ecosystems we'd be destroying. The Mariana Trench is a place of extremes. Extreme depth, extreme pressure, extreme darkness, and extreme cold. It's a place that should be lifeless, a dead zone where nothing can survive. But instead, it's teeming with life. Strange, alien, terrifying life that has adapted to conditions we can barely imagine. The creatures of the Mariana Trench have taught us that life is far more resilient and adaptable than we ever imagined. Life can exist in total darkness, surviving on chemical energy instead of sunlight. It can thrive at temperatures near freezing, or in water hot enough to melt lead. Even the bizarre reproductive strategies of deep-sea creatures have scientific value. The parasitic male anglerfish has taught us about extreme sexual dimorphism and how species adapt to environments where finding a mate is incredibly difficult. This research has applications in conservation biology, helping us understand how small, isolated populations of endangered species can maintain genetic diversity. The creatures of the Mariana Trench have survived for millions of years in one of the harshest environments on Earth. They've endured ice ages, asteroid impacts, and countless other catastrophes. But they may not survive us. The question is whether we'll choose to be their protectors or their destroyers. What do you think is the scariest thing about the Mariana Trench? Is it the crushing pressure, the alien creatures, or the fact that we've already polluted it before we've even explored it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about the deep ocean and the bizarre creatures that live there, check out the video on screen now, where we explore the strangest bioluminescent creatures ever discovered. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.